Hello, I want to talk to you about repetition. And as I say that, I am aware that I'm repeating myself because I've already talked in one of these videos about repetition, about when you repeat something in music, whether it should be repeated verbatim or not. Now, I'm dealing with that exact issue. That's why I'm bringing it up now. I'm in the fourth movement. I'm on my second stage of going back through the music, fleshing it out, polishing it up, trying to dot the I's, cross the T's at the same time. And I've nearly finished, by the way. I'm well into the fourth movement. I've decided that I'm repeating a section in the fourth movement because it felt a little short to me and I didn't want to write new material. I felt there was enough material there. So I preferred the idea of repeating something. So I've got a chunk which is then repeated, and it sort of goes a different way, slightly different way at the end, but essentially is pretty much the same. So I thought to myself, well, do I just leave it like that? Do I change some of it? So if I'm making a repetition, and if I were to want to make changes to that repetition, which actually I do, how am I going to do it? I think there are two basic ways. There are many ways, but I'll just mention two. One is a way which has been used an awful lot in symphonies. So great writers of symphonies such as Haydn, Beethoven, Mendelssohn, Brahms, Tchaikovsky, so from the late 18th century right through the 19th century, actually into the 20th century, have in their first movements, usually the first movements, used sonata form. Sonata form is a way of structuring a piece of music, a section of music. And there's a section within that called the development section, where the tunes, the material that you've heard in the first section, called the exposition, are developed. So it's as if a composer's saying, oh, look, I gave you this tune. See what potential there is in this tune. And those three notes in the middle provide a really interesting little rhythm. I'm going to take those three out and use them on their own to do something else. Sort of like a little germ has come out of that and gone in a different direction. Can be very clever, can be very complex, can be quite straightforward and simple. But that's the basic idea. Another way of making modifications, changes, developing, is essentially to keep stuff as it was, to repeat a section, an entire section. But to make changes such as, for example, here the trumpet played the tune, here the oboe plays the tune, here the harmony, the background, was played by the strings, here it's done by the trombones and the tuba. It's more that sort of change that I've been looking at in this repetition of this section in the last movement of my symphony. So I've done that a little bit, change one or two instruments from the first time through to the second time. I've added in a few little bits. There's a few times where there was a gap the first time it came round, and I filled that gap in with other little ideas, or the repetition of the little idea that was firstly there. I've changed one or two little bits of harmony. So I've tinkered with it. I've layered it slightly differently, but I've not done that, if you like, that classic sonata form development at all. Now, this is something which I've just realised could save my bacon in the coming days, because talking about repetition, there will soon be the repetition of many, many Christmas songs being played in supermarkets and the like. And I do not particularly like that type of repetition. So I think what I'm going to try to do is, when I go to a supermarket in a few weeks' time and hear some of that, I'm going to be thinking, let's have a listen to some of the repetition within that tune. Yeah, oh yes, it's exactly the same. No, the rhythm guitar is changed how it's playing that bit. Firstly, it was playing in a reserved manner. Now it's much more up-tempo. All sorts of possibilities. Perhaps you could join in with me in that quest to survive the Christmas song period.